Welcome back to TechLine. Today's first story is a big one out of San Francisco. A major PG&E outage tied to a substation fire that left roughly a third of the city in the dark.
Yeah, this was huge. Reports put the outage between about 124,000 and 130,000 customers at the peak. Neighborhoods from the Presidio and Richmond to parts of downtown, around Golden Gate Park and the Sunset were affected. Transit stations and businesses were hit, and crews worked through the night to restore power to the majority.
That's the short version. Can you walk us through how a single substation fire can cascade into that level of disruption? It sounds like one small point, big effect.
Absolutely. Substations are central nodes in the distribution grid. They route and transform power for large neighborhoods. A fire or equipment failure there can force operators to isolate that piece of the network to prevent damage or further outages. Depending on how the grid is configured and how much redundancy exists, that isolation can black out large swaths until crews reroute or repair lines. In this case, PG&E crews were on scene and managed to restore power to most customers overnight, but several thousand remained without power in those north and central neighborhoods for longer.
And of course, the timing wasn't ideal, just before the holidays and during busy Saturday hours. Beyond homes and shops, what were the big public safety and transport impacts we should note?
Darkened streetlights, installed transit stations created immediate safety and routing headaches. Emergency services had to respond to traffic signal failures, and the outage forced closures for restaurants and small businesses. There are also reports of vehicles stopping unexpectedly and of infrastructure systems like some traffic lights going dark, which amplifies traffic congestion and risk.
Does this raise bigger questions about grid resilience or maintenance for utilities like PG&E?
It does. Infrastructure aging, constrained maintenance budgets, and climate-related risks all put pressure on distribution networks. Utilities are investing in grid hardening, microgrids, and more automated switching to reduce outage scopes, but those are long-term projects. Incidents like this emphasize the need for faster isolation, better redundancy, and community-level contingency planning.
All right, we'll move from the grid to the vehicles that rely on it. And yes, I mean the robotaxis. On to the next segment.
So now, part two of the same story, the Blackout exposed a real weak spot for autonomous vehicles. Waymo reportedly had hundreds of robotaxis stopped in intersections, and the company paused service in San Francisco while teams coordinated with city officials.
That's right. Videos across social platforms showed Waymo SUVs with hazard lights on, frozen at intersections and creating backups. Waymo confirmed a temporary suspension of ride-hailing in the Bay Area while they worked to bring services back. There were even reports of at least one passenger being temporarily trapped inside a stalled vehicle.
People immediately leapt to system failure. But can you explain what likely happened from a design perspective? Why would an AV fleet halt so many cars at once?
On the face of it, the Waymo driver is designed to respond to signs and traffic signals. When an entire area loses signal power, the vehicle perceives an ambiguous, potentially unsafe environment. No green light, no red light, no clear right-of-way rules at many intersections. The conservative software response is to stop or proceed with extreme caution to avoid risky assumptions. Stopping hundreds of vehicles is a painful but safety-first outcome.
So, safety-first design worked, but it created a new problem: blocked streets and stranded riders. Any thought on whether this was about sensor limits, missing failover logic, or policy choices?
It's likely a combination. Vision and LiDAR can detect lights that are functioning, but when signals are dark, the system must fall back to traffic code rules, temporary sign inference, or human-style judgment. That requires robust mapping, V2X, vehicle-to-infrastructure, fallback channels, and perhaps remote human oversight that can direct vehicles during outages. There's also a policy and testing angle. Regulators and companies have to decide how AVs should behave in degraded public infrastructure scenarios.
And of course, this became Twitter fodder. Elon Musk claimed Tesla robotaxis were unaffected, which sparked a lot of debate. Beyond the snark, what are the broader operational lessons for AV companies?
Several. Diversify sensing and decision logic so loss of one infrastructure layer doesn't force mass stops. Invest in V2X, or local fallback units, that can broadcast temporary traffic rules. Build remote ops layers that can triage and reroute vehicles quickly, and improve passenger communications and escape procedures so people aren't left confused or stuck. Public agencies should also prioritize resilient signaling and rapid manual traffic control during outages.
Any quick takeaways for listeners worried about driverless cars taking over the world?
The tech is advancing, but this was a reminder that autonomy is tightly coupled with public infrastructure. Safe systems mean planning for when the lights go out. Expect short-term hiccups, but also expect accelerated investment in resilience, both from cities and AV companies.
Nicely put. Thanks for breaking that down. And hey, at least Waymo's safety margin probably ensured nobody ran through an intersection in the dark, though a few frustrated humans might argue otherwise.
True. If anything, it's a call to make both grids and autonomous systems smarter and more cooperative. That's the next frontier.
That wraps our coverage of the Blackout and the Robotaxis. We'll keep an eye on updates and lessons learned. Next up, microgrids and resilience projects you should know about. Stay tuned. The preceding audio summary was created at jesterengine.com, where you can find and verify the original sources.